Most men live as shadows of themselves, chained by ignorance and dulled by comfort. But today I will tear open that illusion. If you remain here, you will walk away armed with knowledge so powerful it feels illegal. This is the path that transforms an ordinary mind into a genius. A path society hopes you never discover. Listen carefully, for what I am about to say will sting. Most men you see around you live not as free beings, but as prisoners. They are imprisoned not by chains of iron, but by the far crueler shackles of ignorance, fear, and routine. They mistake these invisible shackles for safety. They call it normal life. But in truth, it is the slow death of their potential. Walk through the streets of any city and look closely at the faces you pass. You will see the blank gaze of men who wake only to eat, to work, to sleep, and to repeat. They consume what is given, believe what they are told, and obey the invisible commands of society without ever questioning. These men do not think, they react. They do not seek truth. They settle for comfort. They do not live, they exist. And this existence, my friend, is mediocrity in its purest form. What does this happen? Because mediocrity offers an illusion of peace. To be mediocre is to belong to the herd, to move with the crowd, to avoid risk, to avoid failure, and to avoid the discomfort of thinking for oneself. It feels safe. It feels easy. But what they do not realize is that this safety is nothing more than a coffin lined with silk. It keeps them quiet. It keeps them numb, but it kills their greatness long before death claims their body. The problem of mediocrity is not simply that people settle for less. It is far darker than that. Mediocrity spreads like a plague. The mediocre man hates the sight of one who dares to rise above him. He will laugh at the ambitious, he will mock the curious, he will envy the bold, because every spark of greatness he witnesses reminds him of his own chains. And so, to protect his fragile pride, he pulls others back into his pit. The herd punishes difference. The herd despises the exceptional. The herd exists to maintain its own comfort, even if it means crucifying those who dare to think. Do not be fooled. The world praises the word genius, but secretly, it fears it. For the true genius is a disruptor. He sees through illusions, he refuses obedience, he questions authority. He does not bow to tradition. Such a man is dangerous. Such a man cannot be controlled. And society, built upon the obedience of the masses, trembles before the individual who thinks for himself. This is why genius is rare. Not because it cannot be achieved, but because most are too afraid to bear the weight of independence. Look at history, and you will see this pattern repeated endlessly. Men of great minds were not celebrated in their time. They were rejected, ridiculed, often destroyed. Socrates was forced to drink poison because he would not stop questioning. Galileo was condemned for daring to say the earth moves. Machiavelli himself was cast aside, his writings cursed as dangerous, because he revealed truths about power that rulers wished to keep hidden. The herd does not reward brilliance, it crucifies it. Yet still across centuries, the few who embraced greatness endured, and their names echo through history, while the mediocre are buried in silence. What makes mediocrity so seductive is that it hides behind virtue. The mediocre man says, I am humble, I do not need power. I am content with what I have. He convinces himself that his small life is noble, that refusing ambition is a sign of wisdom. But the truth is more brutal. It is not humility that chains him, it is cowardice. He fears failure, so he never tries. He fears ridicule, so he never speaks. He fears judgment, so he never acts. And yet he will disguise his fear as morality, convincing himself that settling for little is somehow honorable. And here lies the greatest tragedy of all: mediocrity is a choice. Genius may require effort, courage, and vision, but mediocrity requires only surrender. To do nothing, to follow the crowd, to obey without thought. This is the path of least resistance. And so it is the path most men take. They will tell you they had no chance. They will tell you life was unfair. They will tell you they were victims of circumstance. But this is only the language of resignation, for every man is given the same choice to rise or to remain. Most simply refuse to rise. I tell you this not to frighten you, but to awaken you, for the problem of mediocrity is not distant. It is around you, within your friends, your family, your colleagues, even within yourself. It is the voice that whispers, stay comfortable. Do not risk. Do not think too much. Do not stand out. It is a poison that seeps into your soul and convinces you that your smallness is acceptable. But once you see it, once you recognize it for the lie it is, you can never unsee it. Genius is not a blessing from the gods. It is not some divine gift reserved for a chosen few. No, genius is a weapon forged by human hands, shaped in the fire of strategy, sharpened by relentless will, and polished with cunning. Men who wait for genius to be given to them will wait until their bones rot in the ground. But the man who takes the Machiavellian path understands This simple truth: genius is not born, genius is built. The path begins with one principle, the refusal to think like the herd. Ordinary men take ideas at face value. They inherit beliefs from their parents, their rulers, their priests, and they cling to them as if they were sacred. But the Machiavellian mind questions everything. It strips away illusion, it tears apart tradition, it demands to know not what is told, but what is true. To begin the path to genius is to abandon blind faith and embrace ruthless curiosity. The man who does not question does not learn, and the man who does not learn does not rise. But questioning alone is not enough, for the world is filled with clever doubters who question everything yet achieve nothing. The Machiavellian path requires more. It demands strategy. The genius is not merely a thinker, he is a tactician. He knows how to gather knowledge, but also how to wield it like a sword. He studies not only books and ideas, but the hearts of men, the flows of power, the forces that rule society. He asks who benefits from this belief, who profits from this lie, who gains strength while others remain blind. This is the thinking of a genius, not mere curiosity, but calculated perception. And here is a secret most will never hear: intelligence alone does not make a genius. The world is full of men with sharp minds who die unknown, because they lack the courage to act. The Machiavellian genius does not keep his insights locked in the prison of thought. He uses them. He bends reality with them. He shapes the perception of others. He knows that knowledge without application is nothing but wasted air. The man who can turn an idea into influence, a thought into action, a vision into reality, that is the true genius. Consider how power itself works. The ordinary man thinks power lies in brute force or inherited wealth. But the Machiavellian genius knows that true power lies in perception. If you can control how men see the world, you can control the men themselves. And so the genius studies language, symbols, persuasion, the art of shaping appearances. He does not need to be the strongest, the richest, or the most loved. He needs only to be the most strategic. And through strategy, he can rule over those who are stronger, richer, and more loved than he could ever be. This is the alchemy of the Machiavellian path, the transformation of knowledge into domination. But make no mistake, this path is not gentle. It does not reward hesitation. It does not forgive weakness. To walk it, you must be willing to think thoughts others fear to think, to say words others fear to speak, to do what others refuse to do. The world may call you ruthless, immoral, even dangerous. And yet history remembers only those who dared. The timid vanish into obscurity, while the Machiavellian genius carves his name into eternity. Which fate do you prefer? Let us strip away another illusion. Many believe genius is measured by intelligence tests, by grades, by the approval of teachers and scholars. This is the fantasy of mediocrity, for it makes genius something that can be handed out like a certificate. But the Machiavellian path does not care for such things. True genius is measured by effect. What can you achieve with your mind? What empires can you shape? What enemies can you outmaneuver? What obstacles can you turn into stepping stones? The man who can bend the world to his design, that is genius, no matter what the academics may say. Notice, too, that this path requires not just intellect, but discipline. The genius is not a man who merely thinks occasionally or reads when it pleases him. He trains his mind with the same rigor a soldier trains his body. He consumes knowledge not for pleasure but for advantage. He builds habits of focus, patterns of observation, systems of thought. He learns from every failure, every enemy, every mistake, until even his scars become sources of wisdom. This is why the Machiavellian genius is unstoppable, because even in defeat, he gains strength. Even in loss, he learns how to win the next war. And what of morality? Here lies a question that haunts ordinary men. They ask, but is it right? The Machiavellian genius does not ask this, for he knows morality is a mask, a weapon wielded by rulers to keep the masses obedient. What is considered moral shifts with time, with power, with rulers. What was once condemned becomes praised, and what was once praised becomes condemned. The genius sees morality not as a chain, but as a tool, to be used when it serves, discarded when it does not. For him, the highest virtue is effectiveness. The result justifies the method. This is the path few dare to walk. It is not paved with comfort, but with fire. It does not promise acceptance, but exile. It does not offer applause, but silence. Yet within that silence, the genius grows, for he no longer needs the approval of the herd. He learns to admire his own cunning, to sharpen his own mind, to chart his own course. And when the day comes that he reveals his strength, the world trembles, because no one saw it coming. That is the nature of the Machiavellian path. It is hidden, it is dangerous, it is relentless, and it is reserved for those bold enough to claim it. There are truths the world does not want you to see. There are secrets locked away, not because they cannot be known, but because they must not be known by the masses. Knowledge is not equally distributed. It is rationed, manipulated, hidden behind curtains of morality, law, and tradition. The powerful hoard it, the weak fear it, and the herd is taught to despise it. Yet within this forbidden knowledge lies the key to genius. The man who dares to uncover what is concealed gains an advantage so vast, it makes him appear superhuman to ordinary eyes. Ask yourself, why does society build cages around certain ideas? Why are you told not to read certain books, not to question certain authorities, not to explore certain thoughts? It is not because these things are dangerous in themselves. It is because they are dangerous to the structure of control. A man who thinks for himself cannot be ruled. A man who knows how power truly works cannot be deceived by speeches or distracted by entertainment. A man who sees behind the mask of morality cannot be manipulated by guilt. This is why forbidden knowledge is hidden, because it liberates those who possess it and threatens those who govern by. Look through history and you will find this truth repeated endlessly. Religions burned manuscripts that contradicted their doctrines. Monarchs executed thinkers who exposed the fragility of their thrones. Even in our age, knowledge is censored, rewritten, distorted, because the herd must be kept in ignorance. They are told half-truths. They are given comforting illusions. They are fed distractions. Meanwhile, the rulers study what is real, what is brutal, what is effective. The distance between genius and mediocrity is not intelligence alone. It is access to truth. The few who learn what others are forbidden to learn gain an authority that seems almost magical. The Machiavellian genius seeks out this forbidden knowledge relentlessly. He reads the books they told him not to read. He studies the strategies they said were immoral. He listens to the voices history tried to silence. He knows that every prohibition hides something powerful. If society says, "Do not look here," he looks immediately. If they say, "This idea is dangerous," he knows it is valuable. If they say, "This truth is wicked," he knows it threatens their control. What is forbidden is a compass pointing directly toward power. But forbidden knowledge is not only in books or hidden archives. It lives in observation. Watch the men around you carefully. Notice what they desire but cannot admit. Notice what they fear but cannot speak. Notice the contradiction between their words and their actions. Most men hide their true nature, but the genius learns to read it like an open manuscript. He sees not what is said, but what is meant. He hears not what is declared, but what is concealed. This is a form of forbidden knowledge, for the herd is taught to take men at their word. Only the cunning learn to see the truth beneath the mask. Another layer of forbidden knowledge lies in the study of power itself. The world tells you to believe in fairness, in equality, in justice. These are beautiful illusions crafted to keep the herd docile. But beneath them, power moves according to brutal laws. Men desire domination, rulers fear rebellion. Alliances are built on interest, not loyalty. To see this truth is to understand why nations rise and fall, why men betray, why wars ignite. The ordinary mind resists this knowledge because it shatters their comforting lies. The Machiavellian genius embraces it, because only by knowing how power truly works can he ever hope to wield it. Forbidden knowledge also demands courage. To learn what is hidden is to carry a burden. The truths you uncover will not make you loved. They will make you feared, perhaps even hated. People will call you dangerous, corrupt, heartless. They will despise you not because you are wrong, but because you are right in ways they cannot bear to admit. This is why the path of genius is lonely. You cannot reveal all you know, for most cannot handle it. The genius must master silence as much as speech. He shares his knowledge only when it serves his design, never when it serves the comfort of others. And let us not forget, forbidden knowledge is not safe. It can isolate you, it can mark you as an enemy, it can set you against the world itself. But this danger is also its value. Anything truly powerful is dangerous by nature. Fire burns, steel cuts, truth destroys illusions, and yet those who master it command forces far greater than those who hide from it. The Machiavellian genius understands this bargain, that greatness is purchased with risk, that enlightenment is paid for with exile, that forbidden knowledge carries both power and peril. Consider the illusion most live under. That intelligence is about memorizing what others have written, repeating what teachers have said, scoring well on exams designed to test obedience. This is not knowledge, it is indoctrination. True knowledge often contradicts what is taught. It reveals the hypocrisy of rulers, the emptiness of traditions, the falseness of authority. To embrace it is to step outside the comfort of the herd and into the cold clarity of reality. Few dare to walk this path, for it requires the strength to abandon illusions that once brought comfort. But once a man has tasted forbidden knowledge, he cannot return to ignorance. His eyes are opened, and the world he once believed in dissolves. He sees men not as noble creatures, but as animals of ambition and fear. He sees politics not as service, but as war disguised by ceremony. He sees morality not as truth, but as a tool wielded by the cunning. And with this vision, he moves through life as if playing a game while others remain blindfolded. To the ordinary, he appears as a genius. To himself, he is simply awake. The moment you abandon mediocrity, the moment you step onto the Machiavellian path and consume the forbidden knowledge, a change begins to unfold within you. It is not loud, it is not theatrical, it is not something the herd immediately notices. It begins in silence within your mind, a sharpening of perception, a fire that grows hotter each day. At first you may feel alone, misunderstood, even exiled from the comfort of the ordinary. But as this transformation deepens, you discover that you are no longer a prisoner of illusion. You begin to move differently. You begin to think with precision. You begin to see what others cannot see. The transformation into genius does not happen in an instant. It is a gradual carving away of weakness, a relentless discipline of thought, a reshaping of one's very nature. You start to recognize patterns that were invisible before. You see how men betray themselves with their words, how leaders disguise their motives, how societies hide their decay behind symbols of virtue. Where others are distracted, you are focused. Where others are deceived, you are alert. The world itself begins to look different, not because it has changed, but because you have. This transformation brings with it an aura, a presence that cannot be explained by ordinary terms. The herd will sense it before they understand it. They will notice the way you carry yourself, the way you remain calm when others panic, the way you speak with certainty while others stutter with doubt. They may not know why, but they will feel that you are different. They will call you clever, intimidating, mysterious. In truth, what they are sensing is the weight of knowledge, the authority of clarity, the quiet dominance of a sharpened mind. As the transformation continues, you find that you no longer crave the same things you once did. Applause becomes meaningless. The approval of others loses its hold. You do not measure your worth by how many admire you, but by how effectively you bend reality to your will. While others chase distractions, you are building. While others waste time in gossip, you are studying, calculating, maneuvering. Slowly, without fanfare, you ascend while they remain trapped. And when at last your strength is revealed, they will wonder how you rose so high, as if it happened overnight. But you will know it was forged through years of silent transformation gone. The transformation also alters the way you use knowledge. Before, you may have studied to impress, to appear intelligent, to prove yourself. Now, you study only for advantage. Every fact, every skill, every observation becomes a weapon added to your arsenal. You no longer waste time collecting useless information. You hunt for knowledge that serves a purpose. You do not merely read to be informed, you read to gain leverage. You do not observe for curiosity alone, you observe to predict, to influence, to dominate. This shift in intention is the essence of the transformation. You are no longer a passive receiver of ideas, but an active architect of reality. With this comes power, the power to influence men, not by force but by guiding their perception. The power to win battles before they begin, by outthinking your opponents. The power to remain untouchable, because you see 10 moves ahead while others see only one. The transformation into genius does not make you a god, but it makes you something far more dangerous, a man who cannot be easily deceived, controlled, or defeated. And in a world built on lies and manipulation, such a man is invincible. Yet the transformation is not without its cost. You will be feared, you will be envied, you will be misunderstood. The herd resents those who rise above it. They will whisper that you are arrogant, ruthless, cold. They will invent reasons to dismiss your strength because your very existence is an insult to their mediocrity. But these attacks do not weaken you. They are the proof of your evolution. For if the herd does not resent you, it means you are still one of them. The transformation is complete only when their resentment becomes inevitable. Another mark of the transformation is patience. The ordinary mind is restless, always chasing quick rewards, always hungry for recognition. But the Machiavellian genius understands the art of timing. He knows when to strike, when to remain silent, when to wait in the shadows until the moment is perfect. He is not driven by impulse but by strategy. This patience makes him appear almost supernatural to others, because while they rush blindly, he moves with deliberate precision. Every step he takes is calculated, and so his victories appear effortless. As this new self takes form, you begin to realize something profound. The world is no longer your enemy. It is your instrument. Where others see obstacles, you see opportunities. Where others see chaos, you see patterns. Where others see limits, you see paths. The transformation gives you a new vision, one that allows you to bend adversity into advantage, to turn every defeat into a lesson, every failure into a stepping stone. You no longer react to life, you orchestrate it, bot. And the final sign of transformation is that you no longer need to call yourself a genius. You no longer chase the title, for the results speak louder than the name. Men will whisper it behind your back, rulers will sense it when you enter their presence, rivals will admit it in their envy. Genius is no longer a label you seek, it is a condition you embody, and the more you walk this path, the more undeniable it becomes. What began as the courage to break free from mediocrity, what began as the pursuit of forbidden knowledge, now crystallizes into a new identity, a mind so sharp it carves through the illusions of the world, a presence so powerful it bends others without effort, a transformation so complete that you can never again be mistaken for ordinary. No, you have seen what most men never dare to glimpse. You have seen the truth of mediocrity, the prison where the herd willingly lives. You have walked upon the path of the Machiavellian genius, where strategy replaces obedience and clarity replaces illusion. You have peered into the vault of forbidden knowledge, where power hides the truths it fears the masses will uncover. And you have witnessed the transformation, the evolution of an ordinary mind into something untouchable, feared and revered. Understand this, what you carry now is more than information. It is a weapon. Most will refuse it because it demands courage, discipline, and the will to stand apart from the herd. They will choose their chains, and they will call them comfort. But a few, a rare few, will seize this knowledge and carve themselves into something greater. And when they do, the world will bow before their vision, for genius does not ask permission, it takes its place by force. Remember, the line between the ordinary and the extraordinary is not fate, but choice. Most will remain ordinary, but you have been shown the door. Whether you walk through it or return to the herd, that is the decision that will define your destiny.